This news is funded by viewers like you. Please support our work at democracynow.org/give. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The Secret Service recently announced the next electoral count after the November election is scheduled for January 6, 2025. This time, the event will be classified under the same security level as the inauguration itself. The move follows a request by Washington, D.C.'s mayor and a recommendation by the House Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. This comes as former President Trump dodged a question about his January 6 actions and refused to acknowledge his 2020 loss when he was asked about it by debate moderator David Muir during last week's debate with Kamala Harris.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes, sir.
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi.
This comes as a new documentary offers a close-up look at Trump's supporters in the run-up to the 2020 election, including members of the far-right group, the Proud Boys. Homegrown follows 3 right-wing Trump supporters before and after the 2020 election when they become convinced it was stolen and take to the streets. The film just had its world premiere at the Venice Film Festival. In a minute, we'll speak with the director who embedded with them, including on January 6. But first, this clip from Homegrown that features Chris Quaglin, a New Jersey electrician who's one of the 3 people the film follows. It follows him as he divides his time between preparing to become a parent and stocking up to prepare for war. This clip is from January 5th, 2021, as he arrives at his hotel room in Washington, D.C. before the insurrection.
Dude, I got so many filters. This is what all this was. I literally have 2 pair of pants, 3 shirts, and gas masks, and body armor. And I had 8 bags. And
Try this gas mask, if necessary. Holy.
and a taser. I think it might be legal. It's floatable. See, all this is my survival. This is all medical. Trauma, bullet wounds, tampons, because they're great for knife wounds. People are like, oh, we're gonna have a civil war. And I'm like, oh, I've been planning for this for 10 years. Are you kidding me? These things are bad, dude, and you're not breaking through them. I don't care if they're from China or not. My wife's from China. She's the best lady I ever met. So I don't care if they're from China or not. You're not breaking through those. And if I would love to see some Antifa, like just hogtied.
Chris Quaglin has since been sentenced to one of the longest prison terms for participating in the insurrection. For more, we're joined by Michael Premo, director of Homegrown, executive producer of Storyline. Welcome to Democracy Now! It's great to have you with us. This is a powerful, rare, behind-the-scenes account of what happened. Talk more about Chris, this guy who ends up, being sentenced to 11, 12 years for assaulting a police officer, among other things?
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So Chris, one of the 3 protagonists in the film, is an electrician from Jersey who, before 2016, never considered himself political. He said before Donald Trump ran for president, he never paid attention to even local or national elections. But he was so inspired by what he heard coming from Trump that he felt sort of compelled and called to become an activist.
Let's go back to Homegrown, to another clip of Chris Quaglin and his friends in his truck as they drive in a Trump train protest.
There is a lot more patriots in this country than what the mainstream media tells us. You look out here, you'll never see a Joe Biden rally quite like this. There are millions of patriots out there. We will stand down and stand by and wait for the president's call.
we should have tied Antifa to the pole right here in the back.
Dude, you tie him like Jesus. Crucify him up there.
Crucify him, tie him up. But tie him up, not nail him.
Yeah, just tape
So
him.
you could
Duct
take
tape,
him
bro.
down and
Duct
throw
tape.
him out when we, yeah.
Duct tape.
And with no clothes on.
100%.
No clothes.
You have to, but you leave the mask on.
Yeah, leave his mask on. You don't want him to get a flu, you know. God forbid if he gets a cold. There's a sheriff. Yeah, you got pulled over. Not with Trump flags, but.
Not with Trump flags, we're not.
Nah.
As long as I wasn't.
You could shoot somebody and you won't get pulled over.
He said you could shoot someone here and you wouldn't get pulled over. That was Long Island. President Trump just spoke at the Nassau Coliseum in Long Island this week. Talk about what a Trump train is.
Yeah, Trump train was a kind of an anomaly of the pandemic era presidential campaign, where in lieu of, or in addition to some of the large scale rallies that were happening, people would gather in a long line of cars and drive around a particular area. People may have remember there was also boat trains where people would gather and do the same thing in a long line of boats and sort of parade around a lake. And it was similar, and they happen around the country.
I want to go to another clip, and this is of Proud Boy Thad Cisneros, an activist from Texas, who you show as he teams up with a Black Lives Matter activist named Jakari Kelly. This is a clip of them together as they drive in another Trump train protest.
Girl, what you do, girl? What you do, girl? Black Lives Matter, girl.
We are in a caravan going one direction.
There's some more.
And it's Patriots Against Racism. That's what it is. Patriots Against Racism. So then, can I flip this around? There we go. So they organized another event, the BLM Utah, and you can see them. And they're being very stunning and brave, and they're flipping everybody off.
But that works vice versa, because when I was in a caravan, the Trump supporters were flipping us off.
Oh, it's very stupid.
Causes way more attention than there needs.
Yeah, exactly. Both Jakari and myself are of what I think is a very good opinion, that you should allow the other side to voice their opinion without any kind of reprisal. You know, this is a demonstration of what I would consider to be unity amongst people with the same opinion.
So why not just have American flags?
Well, these guys are Trump supporters. They're voicing their opinion.
But if it's anti-racism, like what's
Oh my gosh, Trump is not synonymous with racism. Let's not go there, Jakari.
So is this a Trump caravan, or is this supposed to be like a patriot caravan?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Because it was Patriots Against Racism.
Looks like
okay.
It's a Trump caravan.
See, at least I'm trying to understand. But can we agree that Donald Trump is not synonymous with racism, please?
I see he says some racist ass. I'll say that part.
We got guys in New York, one of which is married to a black woman with black children. And
that doesn't make you not racist if you have a black family.
I cannot grasp that concept.
No, you can still have that little prejudice.
that is complete nonsense to me, Jakari.
Oh my God.
That is complete nonsense.
That's like saying a black person can't be prejudiced against a Mexican person.
So that's Proud Boy Thad Cisneros, who now is in jail in Texas, not related to January 6th.
Yeah, he's in jail for aggravated assault unrelated to his political activity.
I mean, you're a filmmaker of color. You embedded with these guys, most of them white, but some of them activists of color. Talk about that.
I mean, I think going into this project, I had a vision or understanding of the conservative movement as much more white than what I encountered. And why it was important to include Thad in the film, as well as a couple other sort of minor participants that you see in the background throughout the film, is because they represent this increasing participation of Black and Latino people, mostly men, who are sort of feeling inspired by the conservative movement and can increasingly see themselves as foot soldiers in this movement.
I mean, you have a scene in Portland, Oregon. This is after January 6th, where they are shooting up the area. Weapons are a big part of what they do.
Yeah, weapons are absolutely critical, and I think that's also the draw for some people, some men of color, this sort of feeling of power feeling powerful and being near other people who are sort of reclaiming power, so to speak.
Why did they accept you?
I think it's a good question. I'd love to ask them that question. I think some of these people were generally interested in talking to somebody who may not necessarily agree with everything that they stand for, but was interested in talking to them. And that sort of confused and confounded people and really encouraged folks to try to talk to me in a way that I wasn't prepared for or didn't expect initially.
Have you spoken to Chris since he has been in prison?
I've talked to Chris so Chris was arrested in April of 2021, and he was held without bail until his sentencing, which happened earlier this year. And I talked to him a bunch of times throughout his incarceration while he was awaiting trial.
Does he regret what he did?
No, he feels like he's being railroaded and completely sort of, jammed up by the system, so to speak, and sees himself as a political prisoner.
Why'd you call it Homegrown?
Because I think very often when we talk about these tensions, these divisions, people and the media often refer to other people coming into a place from somewhere else, and we really want to make clear that this is a homegrown issue, a homegrown problem that we need to address.
So you were just at the Venice Film Festival. What's next?
We have about 25 festivals coming up around the United States and Europe, and those festivals will be listed at homegrown.film as they become live.
What do you expect to happen next January 6th?
I feel like that if this was a foreign country, the State Department would issue travel advisories for this fall. So I'm very concerned with the height of sort of violent rhetoric that only seems to have gotten worse since last year. I feel like perhaps on January 6th, we might not see what we did in 2021. But between the election and January 6th, I think we were prepared for an escalation of violence.
Michael Premo, director of the new documentary Homegrown. That does it for our show. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks so much for joining us. Democracy Now! Is funded by viewers like you. Please give today at democracynow.org/give.